When I was a young university student, I was taught law by Professor J.B. Ojwang. And those were the days when people were clamoring for the removal of the KANU establishment and the Moi regime. And Professor Ojwang was a fairly, if I may, conservative jurist. He used to tell, people used to say, let's amend the constitution, let's reduce presidential power. And he told us oftentimes that this is a very simplistic argument. Every time you give somebody functions, you must give that person power to perform those functions. So that the clamor for reduced presidential power as if it's an end in itself is naive. That power must vest somewhere. You can't remove power and throw it into the ocean. That power must vest somewhere. And power can be abused wherever vested. The fact that you are removing it from the president does not immunize it from abuse. Wherever you will vest it, it can be abused there. And therefore, he advocated for a more wholesome view of how we look at power. That if you disperse power, you must disperse functions as well, because power can be allowed to idle. Number two, is also the nature of power that it must be exercised by human beings. And all the philosophers taught us that if governments were run by angels, if all men were angels, then there will be no need for government. We need government because men are not angels. Sadly, it is those men who are not angels who constitute government. And that's the obscenity of the whole situation. And government therefore becomes what we call a necessary evil. Government is actually essentially an evil. But that evil is necessary. Because if you allow human beings to run their affairs without this evil, then the outcome will be tragic.
More evil will prevail.
So impeachments must be viewed in that context, that we have reached a condition, a situation in human relations where we have agreed that power must check power. When you vest power in a particular office, you must vest another power to check this power. Only power checks power. So a number of things have happened in our design of the Constitution. We have created offices and vested those offices with certain immunities and certain powers. For example, we established the office of judge. And we say the nature of the work of a judge is that it must be conducted without external interference. So how do you guarantee this? One of the things you do is to give that judge security of tenure. We tell them, you do what you have got to do because you are guaranteed your term of office up to the time you get 74 years. But then you realize that this judge is not an angel. He or she too can abuse power. So you qualify that guarantee. You tell that judge, you have security of tenure, but security of tenure during good behavior. So that you have secure good behavior tenure. And so we also elect the president and say, no, you are guaranteed a term of 5 years once elected, with a possibility of renewal for a further 5 years. But again, this 5 years is guaranteed subject to good behavior. Then a question arises, what do we do in the event of bad behavior? You must provide a remedy. If you provide a right without a remedy, then that right is hollow. So the remedy in this circumstance say, look, the process of getting a governor or a president in office is through popular mandate. But the economics of popular mandate is too expensive. By the time you go to elections and get somebody into office, is an extremely costly affair. So if removing them has to go through the same process, it is not sustainable. Ideally, that's the way it should be. Ideally, if we are living in a perfect space, then to remove this person, we possibly have to go through the same process. But you can imagine the cost implications. It's actually unsustainable. So we go for the second better alternative through use of delegated mandate. To say, this popular mandate that we exercise gives us delegates, members of parliament, senators, MCA. So we can now use delegated sovereignty to exercise this removal from office. So that is the way in which this power is checked, the power of the governor through the impeachment process. There are multiple other prescriptions in the law for checking the powers of governors, the executive functions of governors. But impeachment is just one of them. It's actually the ultimate. It must be used as a last resort.
It's a last resort.
Because there are other lesser restrictive measures that I will allude to in the course of this conversation. So this is a last resort. When you are completely incorrigible, then we remove you from office. Otherwise, as I've said, there are other methods that we can check the governor.
Let's go to those ones.
Yes. One, you know very well that we go to court every day and challenge presidential actions.
Yes.
So we don't remove the president. You appoint somebody, we just go to court and quash that appointment. And that's it. You just remain in office, but your appointee has been removed. That's a method of checking you. We have power. The power of the judiciary has checked presidential power, has checked the governor's power.
Yeah.
Parliament makes laws. We just go to court and nullify them for being unconstitutional. We have checked Parliament's power. We have not recalled parliamentarians. So this is one. Number two, you know that the governor needs resources to run his or her government. And to get these resources, you must get approval of these resources by the county assembly through the budget process. So that's another way. You can just refuse to approve the budget if you discover that the manner in which the resources are being appropriated is not consistent with the aspirations of the county in question. Number three, you have things such as the Auditor General periodically comes and just audits the books of accounts of the county, and by law, the Auditor General must submit their reports of county audits to the county assembly and the national parliament. All of them, without exception. So that's another way. You have the controller of budget. The controller of budget must check the manner in which resources are removed from the county revenue fund. Before you use the budget, this withdrawal of money, this use of this money for paying salaries and so forth must be approved by the controller of budget. So these are methods through which power is checked that are less restrictive. By the time you go to removing somebody from office, this person must be incorrigible. And this is the case we made before the Senate. That if I came to this studio and wanted to nitpick, I would find errors this morning just from the things you have done here.